Hello, I am Mary Mason, President of the Friends of Old Dover. The Dover Days Committee, along with the Friends of Old Dover, also known as the Historical Society of Dover, are pleased to offer you a virtual celebration of our city's heritage. Dover Days began in 1933 by Mabel Lloyd Ridgely as a day with the storied houses and gardens of Old Dover. Through the years, the Dover Days has grown into a lively festival with parades, maypole dancing, historic reenactions, community speakers, and food and craft vendors organized by the Dover Days Committee. Due to the ongoing restrictions of the COVID pandemic, we will celebrate again this year with a series of online lectures on topics such as pre-colonial history, Victorian architecture, religion, ethnic groups, education, horticulture, and social history of Dover. We are proud of our traditions, and our focus is on preserving Dover's historic and architectural heritage for future generations. We hope you enjoy our online program. The Dover Days Committee and the Friends of Old Dover look forward to spending Dover Days with you in person the way it used to be next year. A special thank you goes to the students of the ARVED, Audio, Radio, Video Engineering Design of Caesar Rodney High School for their assistance with this program.
Hello, my name is William Parkhurst, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of the stately homes of State Street in Dover, Delaware. Most of the homes that are on State Street lie in what is called the Victorian Historic District, and the image you see on your screen is of a photo that was taken in the late 19th century. One of those houses is no longer standing. That's the one on the right. It's now the location of the Orville Myers Park. Anyway, the historic district has some very beautiful houses, and I'd like to show them to you. Come with me. The historic district was basically begun by the Reverend Thomas Budd Bradford as a real estate development. He had inherited a great deal of land from his uncle, Nicholas Lockerman. You may have heard the name Lockerman Street. Well, that came from the Lockerman family. The Reverend Thomas Budd Bradford inherited the land and was mostly lying north of Lockerman Street. He decided to develop it into lots and sell them off to make a little money. Here is an image of Mr. Bradford, in his later years, and this is an image from Scharf's History of Dover. Bradford City was laid out in 1852, and the lots are clearly marked. One of the early buyers of a couple of lots on State Street was Wilson Cannon. He built this fine home in either the late 1850s or the early 1860s. Mr. Cannon was originally a ship carpenter and then became the owner of a shipbuilding company. He and his wife, Mary Jump Cannon, were the parents of Annie Jump Cannon. You may have heard of her. She was a famous astronomer. Annie went to school in Dover and attended and graduated from the Wilmington Conference Academy, which was not located in Wilmington, but was in fact located in Dover on State Street and is now Wesley College. Annie Jump Cannon loved science, loved astronomy, loved studying the stars, and after her years at the Wilmington Conference Academy, went to Wellesley College. She graduated Wellesley College and then went on to Radcliffe, and then finally was appointed an assistant at the Harvard Observatory. She then became a member of the Harvard faculty while working at the Harvard Observatory. Over the years, she became recognized as being one of the foremost astronomers in the United States, which was quite an accomplishment for a woman at the time. She had written textbooks, star charts, and so forth, and that's why she became so well recognized. Another historic home on State Street was the Pennywell residence, located not far from the Cannon residence. This residence was completed in 1869 as a grand home for Caleb Pennywell. Caleb Pennywell grew up in Dover, attended Dickinson College, and with money that he had from his family, helped found a sash and door company with another gentleman. It was a great success. Mr. Pennywell had also invested in real estate and farms, became an officer in the Farmers Bank of Dover, and eventually a president of the Farmers Bank. Located directly across the street from the Pennywell residence was the Risley residence, also completed in 1869. The Risley residence was built for Dr. Henry Risley, who was from a well-known and prominent family in Dover. Dr. Risley grew up outside of Dover on a farm. He studied medicine and became a doctor, but decided he did not like practicing medicine and decided to focus his work on investments in farms and in the growing of fruit trees and vegetables. Here's Dr. Risley as the president of the Farmers Bank. He could walk to work every day, by the way, as the Farmers Bank was located on the green. Dr. Risley met his end due to hiccups. It was said his last day of life he had suffered an attack of hiccups, which he was not able to shake, and it did him in, all the exertions. This is a notice from the New York Times. Right up the street from the Risley and Pennywell residences is the Hargadine residence. You'll notice that on State Street too. Completed in 1874 by Samuel Hargadine, who found wealth as a merchant on State Street, and Lockerman Street. Also, Mr. Hargadine invested in real estate. He dabbled in politics, becoming sheriff of Kent County in the 1870s as a Democrat. Here is Samuel Hargadine from a daguerreotype lent by the Hargadine family, who are now located in Iowa City, Iowa. Samuel Hargadine actually wound up being a failure in business by the 1880s, left Dover, Delaware. Here's Mr. Hargadine, and moved to Missouri. The family later wound up in Iowa. Here's a photo of the Hargadine family during their time in Dover. And once more, a photo of the Hargadine residence as a street view picture. The Richardson residence is not located too far from all these other homes, and it was the house of Harry Richardson, who was the son of the co-founder of Richardson and Robbins. The co-founder I'm referring to is Alden Richardson. Harry Richardson had this house built in the 1880s, and it was owned by the Richardson family up until the 1940s, when it was finally sold to Wesley College, and the house became a dormitory for women. The most unusual or interesting residence to me on State Street is the Chambers residence, which was built by Joseph Chambers in 1883. Joseph Chambers hailed from Westchester, Pennsylvania, where a number of the notable homes there are clad in the green serpentine stone. Mr. Chambers came to Dover from Westchester as a seller of fruit trees, and he decided as well to get into canning business, and he met great success initially. However, members of his family became ill with tuberculosis. Mr. Chambers became a widower. His business declined greatly, and he wound up in bankruptcy. He left Dover, went back to Pennsylvania. Rose Cottage is basically, I would say, the crown jewel of State Street, as it is probably the oldest standing residence on that street that is north of Lockerman Street. This particular residence is now the headquarters of the First State Heritage Park, and it was the home of the Fulton family during the Victorian era after the Civil War. J. Alexander Fulton moved from Pennsylvania to Dover. His whole family came down in 1865, and J. Alexander Fulton was a noted attorney, also a farmer, and a fruit grower. He kept a voluminous diary for over 40 years during his time, actually 30 years during his time in Dover, and that's how we know a lot of the history of Dover in that period. Here's a daguerreotype of Mr. and Mrs. Fulton in their younger years in Pennsylvania, and here's one more of their time while they were in Dover. Lastly, a photo of J. Alexander Fulton in his later years, supplied by William F. Richardson. We conclude our tour of the stately homes of State Street, and it is our hope that you take a walking tour at your leisure and notice some of these homes in person. And I thank you very much on behalf of the Friends of Old Dover.